Hey KWL fans, let's talk about the guided Wiffles in a recap of their KWL podcast that recently had issues uploading. First, let's jump into the roster. The guided Wiffles had an exciting year in 2022. This group of young players all come from Kalamazoo Central. They're captained by Joey Spada. In his rookie year, he had almost a 500 on base percentage. He's really the glue of the team and did a really well managing the team through a really successful first year. Along with Joey, we also had Mason and Colin Honley on the podcast as well. They're the league's youngest Bash brothers, and they really held the lineup strong for the guided Wiffles. Both of them led the league, or I should say were in the tops of the league in many of the offensive categories. Mason hit 10 home runs, and Colin hit 9 home runs. Mason, he was only an 8th grader this year, and Colin was a freshman himself, so both really young. Colin actually won the Rookie of the Year award, hitting .516, which was second best in the league, and he was also second in the league in slugging and third in the league in on-base percentage. Next up is a young right-handed submarine thrower, Colton Stoll. He really became the ace of the team, featuring a really high-velocity riser. And by the end of the year, he was almost taking down some of the best teams in the league, featuring a really big win against the Bad Boys towards the end of the year. Lastly, the guided Wiffles made 2 huge additions to their roster late in the year, adding another set of brothers, Bryce and Andre Swanson, both of them who made immediate impacts, particularly on the mound. Showing really high potential. Bryce was very effective as a lefty, and Andre showed a power fastball from. Moving on with my conversation with him, we found out that Colton Stoll can really get the credit for introducing the KWL to his friends and getting them into the league. Joey, Mason, and Colin all had immediate good first impressions of the KWL, but they all admitted it took a while for them to get adjusted, and they mentioned as that adjustment period took place, they finally kind of got some traction, and they eventually were playing teams extremely tough, and they got their first win against a really good Shanghai Chuckers team. Moving on to a fun part of the interview, we asked them who was the toughest pitchers they faced in the KWL. Mason led us off, and he mentioned Nate Thompson and just the sheer velocity of his clean slider that he throws. Joey mentioned Lee, which, fun fact, Lee was actually a Kalamazoo Central graduate as well. In similar fashion, he mentioned just how much Lee hits the board and how hard Lee throws. Another fun fact is actually Mason, as an 8th grader, hit a home run off Lee, who was actually the Cy Wiffle of the Year. So that was pretty exciting. We talked about that in pretty good detail. And then finally, Colin, he mentioned Danny Lindstrom as the toughest pitcher, and just mentioning, the 20 different pitches that Danny throws and the craftiness that Danny has in his arsenal. We asked them who the most fun teams they played were. They mentioned the Legends, which I think is a great point for the KWL. I mean, these kids are 14, 15, up to 17-year-olds, and the Legends, I mean, their average age is probably around 40 years old. So that's really cool to see. They also mentioned having a lot of fun playing the Bad Boys in a lot of the close games throughout the year. When asked who their rival was, they had a fun story on how they ran into Jake Longman at a local rec center. They mentioned there was some fun crap talking going on, friendly crap talking going on, and they also mentioned Jake is a big baller. So if any of you are trying to play pickup basketball, pick up Jake. Obviously, he has the height, but it sounds like he is that prototypical European big man who can dribble and can hit the threes. So shout out Jake Longman on the court. And yeah, I think we all look forward to seeing the Flying Monkeys and the Guided Wiffles to hopefully watch that kind of blossom into a really good rivalry, especially considering both of those teams are so young. To wrap this up, let's talk about the 2023 plans and rumors. Expect the Guided Wiffles to make more noise in 2023. They were picked by the KWL fans in the offseason to be the 2023 KWL champions. Maybe that's a little aggressive, but this team is on a similar trajectory to the Flying Monkeys, and it wouldn't surprise anyone if they made a run at the championship this year. Joey mentioned that he wanted to hit more home runs this year. He only had 1 last year. I think a lot of people would bet big money that he's going to hit well over 1 this coming up year. Mason and Colin both mentioned they want to continue hitting better as well, and to continue making more of an offensive impact in 2023. And then lastly, Joey dropped some really awesome KWL rumor mill news. So, first and foremost, he mentioned that they had reportedly made an offer to a high-level player on the Legends. Sounded like that offer got rejected, but really big news that he, is trying to make a move like that. Joey's also been connected, speaking with Nate Thompson and Kyle Owen of the Diablos, and trying to get them acquired for the Guide Wiffles. And he's also been connected with making an offer to 2022 National Rookie of the Year, Sawyer Bean of the Bad Boys. Nonetheless, it's going to be an exciting 2023 for the Guide Wiffles, and I know there's going to be a lot of eyes on them to watch how they improve over this next year. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.